May 15th, 1988. Atlantic's 40th anniversary. It's 1 a.m. and the audience at Madison Square Garden is tired and excited. They sat through almost 13 hours of music, waiting for the grand finale of Page, Plant, Jones, and Bonham. Phil Collins, Ahmet Ertegun, and Robert Townsend tried a comedy sketch while the band got ready. The memories of Live Aid will hopefully be forgotten after this performance. Everything at stake, and the world's expectations high, through FM radio and HBO. A backstage beef between Page and Plant created heavy tension. Robert wasn't having it. Jimmy was anxious and nervous. Jason Bonham would play the most important show of his career at age 21, and John Paul Jones smiled like the quiet one, always ready to rock. This was a great year for Zeppelin fans, with Page and Plant solo albums and concert tours. The reunion would be the icing on the cake. The three surviving members plus a lineal descendant of John Bonham, and previous rehearsal time. This had to work, but the wounds were still open. This is a story of the events and aftermath of the Year of the Dragon. Welcome to 1988 and Led Zeppelin's second reunion.
Of course, I am in the 80s. I have my own career. Yeah, so it was very hard to work with the wedges and stuff, but we know.
I'd like to introduce some friends of mine to you. Would you welcome Mr. Robert Plant, Mr. Jimmy Page, Mr. John Paul Jones.
This is Robert Townsend. I'm backstage, and like I said, we're going to talk to Robert Plant in a minute, but everybody's here. Bob Geldof is standing right here. How are you, sir?
Hi, I'm Christy Brinkley, and I don't know if you can even hear me above the roar of the crowds here in Times Square. 2, 1, happy 1988. Evening.
After a couple of years of synthesizers and keyboard-dominated hits, the electric guitar was back with a vengeance in popular music. It never left, but it did suffer the electronic crimes and glossy production of the 80s. We can thank many albums from 1987 for this comeback. U2's The Joshua Tree, Whitesnake's self-titled album, Cake by INXS, Def Leppard's Hysteria, Aerosmith's Permanent Vacation, Joe Satriani's Surfing with the Alien, and last but not least, an album with the power and impact of Led Zeppelin in 1969, a band that brought back the Gibson Les Paul into mainstream music. A new generation of teens wanted to play a Les Paul. They wanted to be like him. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction was a game changer. Everybody in the band could play and deliver a sonic explosion like the new messengers of rock and roll. Recent years of tasteless copycats and excess were brought to justice through the organic attack of Axl, Slash, Izzy, Duff, and the one and only drummer Steven Adler. All these records and events set the right tone and mood for the Led Zeppelin flow that was in the air in 1988.
vuestro hubo algún grupo en el cual ustedes se quisieron inspirar?
Sí, hubo varios, y te nombro así. Yo creo que en mi caso, bueno, ya hay una cosa, Led Zeppelin, aunque suene extraño, es un grupo que, como el tratamiento de las guitarras y algunas composiciones, supongo que tienen mucho que ver. Yes,
hard to last you nobody, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on and on.
Yes, believe it or not, he chose the Black Country as his starting point.
The first time Robert Plant trod the boards of Stourbridge Town Hall was over 20 years ago. Last night, he was back.
So we're going to be doing a lot of new songs. It's a new band, new people, new music. But here's a song that isn't quite that new. It's a song that comes from just a little bit further back.
Robert Plant and his band were back home, doing a charity gig for the Children's Society. It was a warm-up for their first world tour. In the new year, they released an album called Now and Zen, a culmination of the last 2 years' work. And if the reaction of last night's fans is anything to go by, it will do very well.
Well, I'm never complacent, and I really am not a kind of teenage idol or a pop star in inverted commas. So every gig I take quite seriously, otherwise I wouldn't get off my backside and do it. Of course I'd like success in this country. I have a number one in Iceland and a number one in Holland and a number one in New Zealand, but not in Britain.
February 29th, Robert Plant and Kingdom Come released their albums on the same day. Kingdom Come's debut album was controversial. The musical style was very similar to the early days of Led Zeppelin. The band was dubbed Kingdom Clone in the press. Guitar hero Gary Moore recorded the track Led Clones with Ozzy Osbourne on lead vocals, poking fun at bands for ripping off Led Zeppelin's sound and image. Ironically, one of Gary Moore's songs was called Over the Hills and Far Away. I'm not trashing the maestro himself, it's just a fun fact, that's all. Robert Plant's fourth studio album, Now and Zen, was released. It made top 10 in the US and number 6 in the UK. It remains his best-selling solo record at 3 million units. Heaven Knows, Tall Cool One, and Ship of Fools became big hits and concert staples. Jimmy Page played lead guitar on Heaven Knows and Tall Cool One. Robert Plant's 1988 tour had a set list of 39 songs to choose from, and was his biggest concert run of the 80s, with 113 shows from January till December. Now and Zen was represented almost entirely, except for The Way I Feel. Why they didn't play this song beats me. It had the perfect setting for a live show. The fourth album material was very strong, with Doug Boyle killing it on electric guitar. He had chops and a hard-hitting sound, with some minor missteps when he tried to recreate Robert Plant's organic sound. Charlie Jones's bass work was sharp and present. He cut through the mix with leadership and skill. Chris Blackwell's drumming was top-notch, without disturbing the groove. His dramatic fills were up there with Phil Collins' 1983. Phil Johnston's keyboards reflect the mind of a great arranger. He played Jess Woodruff's all keyboard parts with grace. As a musical unit, the band was exciting. The Now and Zen material was played with passion and the young blood energy needed to pull it off. Now, it was with Robert's old material that the band seemed to overplay stuff and find some difficulty recreating the textures and subtlety of the mighty 1983 to 1985 ensemble. This, of course, speaks volumes of the magic the old cats brought to the table. Robert moved around and celebrated on stage like a rejuvenated star, giving a chance for everybody to shine as well. Plant decided to play Led Zeppelin numbers for the first time since 1980.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought that we might have had this come down there after the guitar solo or something. Robert De Niro's eyes. Well, Venus, look at that. Oh no, it's David Lee Roth. Thingy Bob. That's steady, I tell you. Okay, this is when it gets mystical, yeah? Oh, yes, you were the one with the joke yesterday. Sorry? If you, at the beginning of the acoustic stuff, bring us a microphone up the back way. Yeah, just a stand. I know.
Plant's first time playing Zeppelin songs was strange. The intention and energy was there, with Robert looking to recreate the original studio versions as much as possible. His bandmates are 100% focused without the excess that surrounded Zeppelin's latter-day shows. As much as you may enjoy this as a Zeppelin fan, one can't help to feel the material sounds incomplete, and it doesn't seem Robert's heart was in it, other than to attract bigger audiences. As much as he tries, he never looks 100% comfortable doing this, and years of his love and hate relationship with Led Zeppelin didn't help either. The irony of it all is that if you sit down and revisit one of Robert Plant's 1988 shows, you'll find yourself wanting more of Plant's solo material than Zeppelin because of the strong identity of the Now and Then stuff. Jimmy Page and his 1988 tour had the opposite situation to no surprise, for reasons discussed on previous episodes. This yin-yang result is my main complaint with the Page and Plant reunion tours of the 1990s. Despite their popularity and sold-out venues, Led Zeppelin songs need John Paul Jones. He brings balance and finesse towards achieving the Zeppelin sound, while also getting the best out of any drummer who plays with him. Jonesy's solo albums and shows prove the point. While not a Foo Fighters fan myself, their 2008 show at Wembley was a great example of Jonesy's magic. He brings the best out of Jimmy's playing. You can sense John Paul Jones' still's respect on stage. Only a man with nerves of steel could glue the Zeppelin pieces together. It's a shame and lost opportunity that the two Capricorns, as Robert Plant calls them, never worked together past the reunion format with so much to offer. Performing Led Zeppelin tracks past 1980 is a checkmate situation in which all three parts need each other to achieve that 75% success rate and cross their fingers on the 25% drumming part. Anyway, back to 1988. You can tell Robert has emotionally detached himself from Zeppelin. His solo tracks sound more dynamic, and well, it's the product he was selling and putting on the market. Out of all the Zeppelin numbers, In the Evening was interesting and most revealing. Some versions from the tour were played at a slower tempo, which made the song never-ending. Fortunately enough, the band stopped doing this at some point and restored the original groove. Overall, we got the bass and keyboard parts played together for a closer take to the studio version that greatly benefits the song. Led Zeppelin's live versions from 1979 and 1980 had the right punch and attitude, but suffered the absence of the bass guitar low-end frequency. I wish the band would have played this song at the O2 Arena in 2007, with Jonesy's modern synths and powerful octave range as heard on Kashmir. And yeah, they could have done Carouselambra as well. And Maybe I'm Gonna Crawl, and All My Love, people doing the wave and all. What a celebration day would have been. And yes, I have a fever, and the only prescription is more copies of In Through the Outdoor. At the time of making this video, I own 38 copies of it.
The band continued until 1980, till the death of drummer John Bonham. In '82, Robert Plant launched a solo career that took him through 6 albums, including the blues-covered Honey Drippers and his latest Now and Then.
With the demise of the previous band and the 3 albums and the Honey Drippers sort of extravaganza or non-event or whatever you want to say, I started setting about looking to find a human source of excitement. And really, I fell upon Phil Johnston quite by luck. And the criteria was I needed somebody who could tell me some home truths and wasn't intimidated by my position or my past or my history or whatever they construed. Because if you live with yourself day to day, it's no big deal. You just got to find somebody who can adapt.
How does this marriage compare with the other ones you've had?
Well, this is more direct and more immediate. My marriage, in inverted commas, with Jimmy Page, we only slept together once. and I can't remember what happened. My marriage with him was okay, but it was a little strained along the line. Those were kind of very odd, strange days, the Doors once said. And as I guess I come from that time-ish, I found it a little uncomfortable towards the end working. The partnership changed and the kind of fluctuations of health and efficiency were not always what I wanted. See, I've been returned to a sort of, to a very exciting period, which I'd forgotten all about because I spent the last 3 solo albums trying to forge... As you probably know, on this new record, which is my best record, the best piece of music I've been involved with since 1973, in my estimation. Jimmy's played on a couple of tracks. He just came in one afternoon, played for 3 hours and went home. Thank you, good night, no money. And in exchange, I said I'd do something for him. And as I'd already slept with him anyway, I said I'd do a song for his record. On the wall, underneath my shares in Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club that are now worth nothing because it went bankrupt, I've got a telegram that I found which said, I've tried contacting you several times. If you are interested in joining the Yardbirds, please call Gerard 6671, Peter Grant. And I found it years later, long after Peter and I had severed our relationship. And I unfolded it, and there it was, and I thought, crikey. And if I hadn't have called that number, just think you guys wouldn't have had anybody to talk to this afternoon. Or...
This is the one you've been waiting for. But this time, someone is waiting. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Opening Friday, May 13th. The deadliest day of the year.
Certificate of deposit, cash that grows and grows. Or $500 worth of CDs. Compact discs.
Fingers, very sore. Fingers. 2, 2, 1, 2. Look at the LCD light bits. Yeah, we got it. All the way to the top. All right. Got a fine piece of kit. Well, how was Miami? How was Miami? It was still there when I got there.
The night before Led Zeppelin were scheduled to play their Madison Square Garden show, Robert Plant called up Jimmy Page with some news. He wasn't going to sing Stairway to Heaven. Jimmy Page replied, "What are you talking about? You're not gonna sing Stairway?" But that's exactly the one everybody expects us to do. The conflict created much tension. Too much tension indeed. The fact that Robert was willing to reunite with Zeppelin was a miracle by itself, but Atlantic Records' Ahmet Ertegun was overseeing the show, and Robert simply couldn't say no to the man that played a pivotal role in shaping his career. I believe Ertegun doesn't get enough credit in the Zeppelin world. He was the only record executive Robert would listen, trust, and truly respect like a father figure. Diplomacy ran in the Ertegun family. Ahmet's father, Münir Ertegun, was ambassador of the Republic of Turkey in Switzerland, France, United Kingdom, and the United States. He was based in Washington, D.C. from 1934 until his passing in 1944. The same year he became Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
This is tomorrow.
To the 40th anniversary celebration of Atlantic Records. Please make welcome the great, the wonderful Miss Laverne Baker. Rescue! Go Jim Dandy! Go Jim Dandy! Jim Dandy on a mountain top.
In a gotta defeat, don't you know it, I'm there. Save it for me, yeah, yeah. Oh,
happy birthday, Atlantic!
Back in New York, hours before showtime, Plant agreed to do Stairway to Heaven. In the end, he said, "Well, I'll do it," recalled Page, "but I'll never do it again. I thought, God, what is this really all about? Where is the spirit of why we're supposed to be here?" Robert Plant's career in 1988 didn't need Led Zeppelin nor Jimmy Page. This was a power move with the upper hand of his Now and Zen success. Live Aid 1985 had Robert Plant needing the publicity from their performance. That 1988 lineup would play again 2 years later at Jason Bonham's wedding, but there was no Stairway, of course. Outside of a Japanese TV appearance in 1984, Plant wouldn't sing Stairway to Heaven until Led Zeppelin's 2007 reunion, and even then, he insisted they do it in the middle of the show. Live Aid 1985 was an open-air set with limited resonance. Madison Square Garden provided the inner depth and echo that makes this a punchier performance overall. It may have rough spots here and there, but this show would have made John Bonham proud of his son. It was not Plant's finest moment. He battled for the emotions, but overall the sound is honest. John Paul Jones and Jason are playing from the heart. They had fun. Robert Plant and Jimmy Page took the stage like divorced parents meeting at McDonald's, sharing custody of the songs. The band went on at 1 a.m. People were waiting for 13 hours on May 14th, and it was no Sunday, May 15th. We can only speculate what the band members did to kill time before they got on stage. For all the bad rep the show gets, it was like Live Aid without the stagehand improvisation, bad monitors, and out-of-tune guitars. We have to give it to Jason. He really led these guys through the songs without the overplaying of Tony Thompson in '85, nor the additional flair of Phil Collins. Like his father, Jason Bonham was a Led Zeppelin fan, and this energy made it work. The fact that Jason played with Jimmy Page on his Outrider tour of '88 says a lot. He managed to connect with Jimmy, and this gave the show a much better vibe. It was all in the family. He may not have played the fills and parts exactly like Bonzo, but Jason Bonham's drums were on that night. An emotionally challenging show, remembering his loving father through the music of Led Zeppelin, honoring the greatest drummer in rock and roll. Now before we go into the setlist, I have to address Jimmy's live guitar sound. If you listen to his 1988 tour, his Les Paul chops were in the right place, both riffing and soloing. Since the reunion was broadcasted, it seems that he went for aesthetics over the hard rock sound, resulting in a thinner sound. His technique sounded like putting fluorescent light on a Baroque painting. You need some of that darkness to convey the idea on stage, and Jimmy Page is one of the hardest players to replicate because of this light and shade dichotomy. In other words, it's like playing Slayer on a clean guitar. It might sound more defined, but the intention is lost. Jimmy's live tone from Led Zeppelin's 1975 tour is an example of this. It sounded less crunchy than, say, 1970 or 1971. While it gave more control from a sonic perspective, it revealed blind spots and shaky moments. Studio Jimmy can handle a cleaner sound because it's a controlled environment. Live Jimmy needs the extra layer of shade so he can go crazy. Thus, I believe his sound at the reunion didn't help the big picture at all. Even Live Aid 1985 had a better tone.
While we're doing this, I'm going to learn how to do comedy.
All right. Well, who have you seen that you want to see then?
Wait a second. Well, we've got maybe one band. What band is that? Oh, no. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in more years than I can think of, they call themselves Led Zeppelin.
Okay, so Jason rushed the tempo a bit, but as far as the structure goes, the song is pretty close to the studio version with only a few bars shortened or forgotten. For their very first time playing this since 1980, it's pretty good considering Page and Plant's pre-show tension and Jason being 21 years old and 2 months away from turning 22. Not even his father attempted Kashmir at such a young age. Bonzo was 26 when Zeppelin played the song for the first time on January 12, 1975 in Brussels, Belgium. Back to Kashmir. Robert Plant is the main offender of mistakes during the song. On the second verse, Robert jumps to verse 6 from Kashmir, with Father of the Four Winds, Fill My Sails. After returning to the main riff, Robert decides to sing verse number 2, plus half of verse 5. Robert then repeats verse number 6 again, and he knows it. Next is Heartbreaker. The opening riff and verse was great, but then we got Jimmy's infamous take on the guitar solo. Right from the get-go, he doesn't have enough gain or distortion. It sounds like when you're playing guitar right before you trigger the distortion pedal. Not enough room to work on a musical passage like this. Whether being nervous or something else that affected his concentration, his left hand grip battles with the famous G string up and down movement. He did the best he could. Ask any guitar player out there. Trying this with little distortion is a nightmare. Now add Madison Square Garden and expectations and well, you get this. Jimmy was probably pissed and tried to make up for it with a small run of heavy hand attacks with one of his favorite licks. His right hand move was worrisome. A guitar's fast picking movement comes from the wrist and not the entire arm. This shows signs of stress and possibly years of increasing tendonitis or early arthritis. Whatever it was, Jimmy kept going and went for it. The audience cheered in response and the band jumped into the 1979 version of Hola Love with the famous riff from Nepworth. Robert sang the lyrics over this. The majority of audience members were probably thinking, wait a minute, this is Hola Love, but the riff is weird. The middle section continues with the alternate riff in full force. This was a test for casual Zepp fans at the arena. Jones and Page are locked in. Jason did a great job leading the band into the guitar solo. The Bonham feel was present. No Live Aid 1985 mistakes. Jimmy's solo was okay, but again, the low gain distortion thing didn't help Page despite his heart being there. The song's main riff comes back and everything runs smooth. Robert's vocals are tired and emotionally absent. The closing moment is strong, including the tritone section. Jason has studied the song well. I really like his drum solo. It was vicious and held no prisoners. He went all in, like John Bonham in 1969. Robert's words in between songs sound like a bored MC. And look at Jimmy working the knobs on his amp. He knows something's up with his guitar tone.
Okay, well, it's been a wonderful day. You agree? It's been really great. It's been nice. It's been all manner of niceness backstage. It's been great to be a part of this. Or I would say one of the most distinguished birthday parties and the most righteous ones too. So thank you all for coming. It's been real tonight. Oh no, sorry, it's just a couple more.
Misty Mountain Hop was great. The tempo was steady and the band was tight. I just wish Jones' keyboard was higher in the mix. Jason is right on the money. Robert played this on his 1988 solo tour, so he makes for a great version, despite Jimmy coming in earlier on some of the verses. Plant is comfortable with the track and the band is having fun. You can tell this is a song they rehearsed the most. Led Zeppelin seemed to use this song as a transition vehicle back in the day. Its structure makes it train wreck proof. Just go along with it and you'll be fine. Jimmy's guitar solo was spot on, with him only missing the last guitar lick that goes on the main riff before Plant nervously goes back into the verse. Now on to Stairway. Madison Square Garden was waiting for this song. The last time Page played this venue was in 1983 for the Arms shows. Robert Plant was here on his 1985 tour. Despite his hatred for Stairway, Robert delivers a good version like a consummate professional. The look on his face is of someone trying to get along with toxic coworkers at the office. Keep a straight face, don't take it personal, and remember laughter. Plant almost didn't throw the "Does anybody remember laughter" line, but went for it. What a good team player Robert Plant was, showing leadership potential and passion for winning. Corporate America would be proud. Everyone has Stairway to Heaven 1988 moments in life, from family reunions to government policies. We have to do some things so we can do the things we want. We're not talking about suppressing emotions, but flowing when life needs you to do so. This song is a metaphoric representation, a never-ending battle of a case of the Mondays and the quest for a Friday. Cheers to all of you who don't really want to sing your personal Stairway to Heaven, but you do it anyway, with grace, and you bring yourself one step closer to your dream through sacrifice, gratitude, and rock and roll. Fun fact, John Paul Jones and Robert Plant had not performed Stairway to Heaven at Madison Square Garden since June 14, 1977. Jason's drumming was explosive. He pulled off a great show. Jimmy's solo is fluid in the vein of 1980. While his crunch distortion pedal choice was not the best, he managed to play a lyrical run, but Live Aid 1985 does have a better guitar solo on this. The rhythm section is tight, nailing every accent and punch. Robert was tired, but managed to finish the song. Time stood still as Robert Plant closed Stairway looking at the crowd, but in the end, he could only say, "Hey Amit, we did it."